Ben Wheeler, the Mercenary King, here with an ally of Imagining Goddess, bringing you a Murakumo deck. Eventually we'll get through all the decks I have, haha! But, for now, I'd like to talk about Murakumo. First off, I'd like to make a statement. I don't understand the use for this. The only possible conceivable use I can see for it is for it to move about, back row boosting. Like, say, you break ride, it goes here so you can have something column. I don't know. I think it's a dumb aesthetic. If you have a Murakumo Vanguard, choose one of your rearguard circles, Soul Blast 1, and move it to that circle. Is it like to kill your own shit? I don't know. It's dumb. It's a dumb idea. I mean, even Ferret's better. Actually, no, I'm kidding. Ferret's actually really good in the right places. Starter. Hyakki Vogue Murakumo is all about them grade 3s, baby. And this guy helps. Basically, your ideal ride scenario is whatever the hell you want for 1, whatever the hell you want for 2, Kagura Bloom, Hyakki Vogue. Bam. You're done. That's all you need. All of a sudden you're locking, you're getting your abilities, you're gaining mad gains, swole. I don't know. I'm running out of things to say. No, this is actually one of the most consistent decks I've ever made. And I make consistent decks. It's almost frightening how well this deck works. Even though there should be some matches up where I lost to Dauntless Drive, not always you can see the hand, but I brought him down. At the end of it, the only reason I lost was because I didn't have enough draw. Simple as that. Not enough draw, excuse me. I didn't have enough card advantage to really deal with it. And he had all the card advantage he needed. As well as the fact that he healed a lot. No, I'm kidding. I don't know what he did. I don't remember. My weak memory. Who's this guy again? Koku Maru. That's a terrible name. I bet his parents are ashamed of him. Counterblast 1, top 5, grade 3. 3 draw triggers. I've upped the crits in this deck. Draw triggers. Some people say swear by stands. I think no, because stands are for on-hit effects. I would play stands in Spike Brothers if I wasn't running Break Ride. And I was running a whole bunch of on-hit effects, of which there are plenty in Spike Brothers. I would run it in... I did run it in my Nebula Lord deck, where I ran things like Singularity Shooter, which is if they have got a lock card, lock something else. So in other words, you triangle lock with Nebula Lord and Break Ridden and Starlight Unicorn, and all of a sudden they're 17k attackers, sometimes with boosters, thanks to Nebula Lord's skill. In this case, no. You need crits. 3 draw. I took inspiration from Shade's Novell deck and went this way. So I'm actually running 9 crits? Yeah, 9 crits. 2 of these guys, I hate the art, and I can't find my other Murakumo crit triggers. This guy, into Soul, plus Regate or something. The regular crit trigger. Heal trigger, Moya aesthetic. Decent art. Heal trigger. Keep it simple, stupid. Let's see here. Reason why I do heavy crits is because you will have 21k columns every turn as soon as you break ride Hyakki Vogue and hit limit break. Hit limit break and break ride Hyakki Vogue over Kagura Bloom. All the time, every time, doesn't matter what. Hyper consistent. 4 perfect shields. I don't want to do him quite yet. Alright, here's one of the benefit of perfect shields. I don't like the Quintet Wall. It could work in this deck, but at the same time there's too much of a chance of not getting Hyakki Vogues when you need them. And that's much more important than conserving hand. Well, I could be wrong in this. Alright, Stealth Beast Deadly Dagger. Murakumo does have a problem with his rearguards. It doesn't have any power ones, it doesn't have any archetypes. All it has is some really cool things that work together, and they try to make those ideas work. Stealth Deadly Dagger is should be a staple in every single Murakumo deck. Death Dagger should be a staple in every deck. Why? When she boosts a Murakumo, and if another of the units has the same name as that boosted unit, in other words, you have 2 or more, this gets plus 3k until end of battle. In other words, she's a 9k booster. In other words, she turns a lot of things into 17 or 20k that weren't anything before. Even the 6k isn't bad because you will have Hyakki Vogues in the front line. You will have multiple Hyakki Vogues in the front line. In other words, this will be 9k boosters all day, every day. This deck is super consistent. Doesn't matter if you ride it, doesn't matter if you boost with it. It's useful. Finally, no, not finally, excuse me. For these guys, this is one of the, for these guys. Stealth Beast Metamorphox. It is the unlocker for Murakumo. Place it on a rearguard circle. If you have a Murakumo rearguard, choose a rearguard and unlock it. In other words, use Hyakki Vogue's ability, unlock it. Use it again for 31k columns across the board. For no counterblasts or anything. All you have to do is play one of him. There'll always be a slot open, and like it is not, you'll be fighting something that kills grade 1s like Kagero, or something that kills everything like Narukami, and he's useful in that way. What I do is sometimes I run grade 2s and stuff like that, and I just run them in the back. Excuse me. And they sort of stick there because you don't need boosters, because you'll always lock at least 2. However, keep the Vanguard column clear because you'll have to use this guy to really bring out the full potential of this deck. Run 4 for consistency. Hyper consistent. 1. Stealth Fiend Oboro Cart. When this unit is placed in the Vanguard or rear guard, if you have a Murakumo Vanguard, in other words himself, pay the cost, counterblast 1. Search for something that isn't named Oboro Cart, and 1 card is the same name as that unit. I'm sorry, one of your rear guards that is not Oboro Cart, and search for one of the same names as that unit. Shuffle it, shuffle the deck, and then at the end of the turn, put the unit on the bottom of the deck. Why is this guy useful? Guess what Hyakki Vogue does? Because Hyakki Vogue locks, you can choose to not return cards into your deck because the lock is in effect as when the return it to the bottom of your deck occurs. Plus is all day. And I was actually misplaying during the match with Ash, when he played Dominate Dragon, because I would return my certain card, Stealth Grows. Again, this deck in the higher levels must have 4 of each. For that consistency, 10k attackers for defense. There's an option for Chain Geek, but he's 8k, and I don't like that. Grinjin, Demonic Hair Stealth Fiend. Stealth Rogue. Counterblast 1. When this unit attacks, hits a Vanguard, and is boosted by a Murakumo, and you have a Murakumo Vanguard, pay the cost, counterblast 1. Search your deck for up to another of him, call it to rearguard circle, shuffle your deck, and at the end of the turn, the unit you called by this effect returns to the bottom of the deck. I don't know. Maybe, just a moment. I don't know. Maybe you could call him out, kill it, and then not use the ability. I don't know. I only have him in here because he summons out more and he works with Deathly Dagger for solid 18k columns. I don't use him. He's there to fill space. I used to use the left or right arresters when this was a Mandala Lord deck with Shiryuki, but that doesn't work. Stealth Fiend Midnight Crow. All of a sudden, Midnight Crow's useful. He was a double rare way back in the day, set 5? Yeah, set 5. He is Counterblast 1. When this unit is placed Vanguard or Rearguard, search for a Midnight Crow, call it to Rearguard, shuffle your deck, and at the beginning of the end of the phase, return to the bottom of the deck. Locking keeps him on the field. So in other words, he's a +1 for a Counterblast 1. And you always lock him, for those power columns of 21k, plus a 27k at least Vanguard. Beautiful, beautiful card. Finally useful, wasn't useful. Now we've got the Break Ride. This is another useful Break Ride in the same vein as Wisteria. Not as... doesn't do... how to say this right? It's not as potentially permanent as Lord Wisteria, but it's still, in this deck, incredibly dangerous, incredibly deadly. Every Murakumo Vanguard will work it with this one way or another, even if it's just thinning out the deck. His ability, when this is ridden, Counterblast 1, give your Vanguard plus 10k and search out 2 cards with the same name as your Vanguard. Call them the separate rear guards. Shuffle deck. At the end of the turn, return these to your hand. Some asshole's playing Tempest Bolt, and you get out Hyakki Vogue. He's like, ha ha ha, I get to ruin your cards, I'll kill everything, and you're like, no. You know, you Break Ride the return to hand, you play cards like Midnight Crow, and when he does kill everything, they'll be protected because Midnight Crow, 1, booster, Kagera Bloom, boom, boom, boom. And, hey, guess what? Tempest Bolt is Counterblast 3. Not many people play him. I'll just use him as an example because it's efficient. And because people should be looking at set 14 right about now. Break Ride on Break Ride isn't bad, but you gotta be careful. You do run out of cards in the damage zone really quickly. Cards in the damage zone drops on their hand do sort of put a damper on your day, and you gotta be careful about that. Counterblasts are really free in this deck. At most, you'll use about 3 or 4, maybe 5 at most a turn, depending on what your situation is. And you really got to see how the ebb and tide in battle go through your cards. This is the ace of the deck. Hyakki Vogue. Limit Break. Choose 2 Murakumo rearguards and lock them. In other words, choose the back row. Choose up to 3, in other words... boom, boom, boom. Choose up to 3 Cobra Dragon Hyakki Vogue's reverses, and those units get plus 10,000. This is a good card. The ability goes off every turn, almost guaranteed. Even retired decks don't hamper it too much because if you Break Ride or if you use his ability, which is Counterblast 2, when this unit is placed on the Vanguard column, I can pay the cost. Search for Hyakki Vogue. Put it on the rearguard circle, shuffle deck, and then return the unit to your hand at the end of turn. Wow! What have done before is do Counterblast 1, search out 2 more, Counterblast 2, 1 more. Lock for ability. It comes back to hand. Because you choose the order! Haha! Here's the thing though, that's what it does. All day, every day. Let's put up an ideal field. Boom, boom, boom. Let's assume Break Ride. Let's assume Midnight Crows. You've used up almost all your Counterblasts. Where's my Metamorphoxes? So in other words, Break Ride, this is now 21k. These 2 are just 11ks. Lock, lock. All of a sudden, 21, 31, 21. Metamorphox, unlock. Lock again for the same ability, because there's no limit to using his ability. You could literally go like this and turn it into a 50k. Is that stupid? Yes. Yes, it is. But all of a sudden, it's the legendary columns 31, 41, 31. That's beautiful. And these return to hand. So in other words, you plus 2. These unlock at the end of turn. Guess what? You can just keep locking these things because they're grade 2s. They don't matter. 21, 21, 21. 15k. Unless you're fighting a cross ride, that's 15k, 15k, 15k for a 1 pass on this bastard. And by the way, because you're running a crit heavy deck, that's going to look less and less good the further you thin out your deck. If you've got a bit of a Counterblast heavy... If you got a lot of Counterblast lying around, Midnight Crow over Midnight Crow, keep that deck thin. Keep removing cards from it. I've broke-ridden Kagera Bloom over Kagera Bloom, then Hyakki Vogue, just to remove those extra Kagera Blooms from the deck. In other words, I gained 4 grade 3s. Sure, they don't use too well, but you can just put them out here and pay for the cost. And keep the grade 2s in your hand for guard purposes. This deck is one of the few decks that don't rely on its back row, ever. Even when this is used up, 30k. Bam. Let's see, for a cross ride, that's 2 10Ks for a 1 pass. Beautiful. At the same time, these guys, doom, 21Ks. Weaknesses of the deck, has a hard time with real card advantages in like grade 0s, grade 1s. But at the same time, it really does work. It's a workhorse, and it is fun. And that's a great thing to Vanguard to have. Right now, we don't know what's next. This is currently the most powerful ace it has. Suggestions with Kagura Bloom. Run him with the Kurama Lord, which is Mr. Invincible clone. Unflips damages, so you can just do this all day and it's okay. As well as soul charges. And, let's see, also Shirayuki's, Mandala Lords. Zanbaku, sort of, because he gives him a bit of power that he lacks, at the same time minusing your opponent if you can get it off first. If you can't, don't worry about it. Tamano doesn't really work with him because Tamano doesn't get any abilities of himself, rather he gives other things abilities like Bandit Ape. Bandit Ape does work, but at the same time he's at 10k, so you gotta be, Alright, that's about everything I can think of to talk about this deck. Try him out. He's decently cheap. I hope to see him the most in tournament play, because it's just like, oh, look at that Raging Form. Oh, how nice. Sure, my guys don't restand, but they're 31k, bitches. Haha. As Kohelith would say, way. Alright. Ben Wheeler, the Mercenary King, going slowly mad from the revelations of the horrible things he's